Hello everyone, it is Arachne here, back with the second movie review. I might have fibbed a little, as I had a couple, or a few, of these scheduled before publishing, so if any requests did come through, they didn't, I'll get working on those soonest. The next movie on the list, and it was a split between this and Cyberpunk 2077, is In Time. Justin Timberlake does a surprisingly good role in a semi-action thriller sort of movie that doesn't hold up quite as well as I thought when I gave it a dedicated watch. The premise of the movie is actually one that is very relevant today. People who own nothing aren't happy. They live day to day, hour to hour, minute to minute. In some cases, literally. Time has been turned into wages, prices, and costs. Everyone is assigned 26 years, of which the last year is tradable, available once you turn 25. How the system was set up is unclear. The theory behind it is guessable. I am basing on the logic behind similar systems and some clues in the script. Everyone has an opportunity to live forever. Everyone. If they work hard, work smart, and, importantly, work, can survive. Now, there are several issues with the economy as the movie starts and how it ends. However, in terms of the movie itself, the economy actually does work for the relatively short 100-minute-ish runtime, so I guess I will have this in 3 parts. Part 1, what is the system, how should it work, what are the underpinning details? Part 2, what happens in the movie? Part 3, what happens after the movie? Part 1. The easiest way to describe this is the economic dream. The socialist dream, the capitalist dream, and just economic dreams in general can never get away from what I call unicorns playing under rainbows. Economics is a place where you construct this hyper-rational place where, with the right assumptions, anything can happen, and anything works. Often, in the economic dream, no bad actors exist. If everyone just plays the game the same way, everyone wins. This particular system mirrors the American dream, both the historical land of opportunity and the current dystopian nightmare. Ideally, hypothetically, the premise of everyone is given 25 years before they need to start spending actually implies that those 25 years, enough for a master's degree, should be provided for. By who? Anyone's guess. If it's the government, then this actually combines some of the better features of communism and capitalism. If it's by parents, then it very clearly states the cost and extent for raising children. Under such a system, what would be ignored would be the outliers. No one would want to run away. No one would want to leave their parents. They couldn't. They would be unable to provide for themselves. I even think 25 years old is mental maturity. If parents are in charge of raising the young adult, it even discourages child pregnancy, as the young parents could literally not afford children. Similar for child labor. If there is no way to earn before 25, everyone shall be educated and society as a whole benefits. Think of what happens when everyone is able to focus on their ideals. I believe that this system works better when under government, however aspects are better under either one. There is a third, and I suppose the one that is evident in the movie in places, where children are indebted to companies, who then looks after them. While this is closer to where the movie itself starts, I don't believe that this is where it began. It's a lot easier to sell parents on education, childcare, and predictable costs than it is on slave labor. So assuming option 1 or 2, how do you sell this? Have you ever wondered how much time you have left? What more you could do knowing that every second matters? How much cigarettes really cost you? The new way of living is now. California has been using this new lifestyle choice since 2099, and they have seen their share of US GDP skyrocket. Productivity, education, and general standards of living have jumped through the roof. The USA government has already signed this into the national future. Do you want to be left behind? Join the Chrono Revolution. The funny thing is, I don't think that this would be a lie. People would volunteer for this, especially as this would be closely supervised. It promises a better life for your children from the day they are born. Education, food, clothing, housing, all would be provided for by government or through subsidy by the parents. And then it goes global, or at least I saw global. It's a new global currency. It's a Bitcoin that works. I really couldn't help myself. Why does this work though? Because the people who proposed it exist. The group of idealists that convinced the world that this was a good idea are overseeing it. Yet, even here, the cracks would be starting to show. There would be allowances for the system it is replacing to still exist. How do people get paid? How do we store? How do we save? What happens if the company I'm working for goes under? There has to be allowances. The piper is owed his due. Therefore, to avoid confusion, the system we know is adapted instead of replaced. Buses are kept, weekly wages, grocery stores, hotels. The medium of exchange just changes. The proposers were probably upset, but this is the real world. There are no unicorns here. From here, global adoption. The original idealists pass on. Some guy realizes that this opportunity, where everyone is given the same opportunity, well, this isn't fair, is it? What about the American dream? If these people who are given 26 years, that's a lot of time to spend, and the system starts slowly being corrupted. Some politicians become involved. You need to let the children spend some of that time. What if the child gets sick? Hospitals still need to be paid. You can't expect the parents to pay to save the child's life. Think of the debt. It's just too much. So the law changes, and a small change leads to a larger change and a larger change. Allowing parents to spend time that isn't theirs steamrolls. And like all slippery slopes, it goes. Why can't they spend it earlier? What if they want to go to fancier schools? What if mommy wants a new pair of shoes? It is only fair to have the child look after the mommy, isn't it? Now, let me backtrack a little bit. The system we have today is adapted. Bank balances, particularly inheritance, are converted into time. And now there's an easier way to claim back debt. Children have guaranteed value, just by their existence. That extra time in their arms can start to be claimed from the moment of their birth, and the ability to pay back debt with child labor is encouraged. Quite literally, you could promise your firstborn. This is not extreme, and it is actually hinted at in the movie. A mother looking at a child saying, "We could really use this year." I'm not going into baby farms, but yes, they would exist. Kidnapping would be rife. This is also hinted at very vaguely in the movie with how scared everyone is of helping Olivia Wilde's character as she runs. And this brings us to point 2. What is happening in the movie? This represents corporate consumerism. It is a bit heavy-handed, but that's exactly what it is. It's present-day America. You work hard to realize that your work lets you live. You try to save and prices go up. Maybe there is a financial crisis, inflation, or something, and savings go. No matter what, you live day to day. Up, funny enough, is a good example of this too. That couple never saved enough. Now, the issue here is, this is an illusion. It didn't start as an illusion, but it is now. Both here and there, ironically. But back to the movie. This is where we kind of find the movie. The poorest area, I think at least. Everyone in relatively good clothes, I might add, living hour to hour, at most day to day. And I like this to really show off the illusion of wealth. It is a bit heavy-handed, but it is still there nonetheless. The mom has more than 2 days of time, and yet she really only has 90 minutes. The wealthiest person we meet from this zone is minutes away from death. The illusion of safety is even explained away as just an illusion. Honestly, the movie is less good than I remember. What happens? Well, off to work Will goes. He earns, he decides against coffee because the price has gone up, works hard and is paid less. His mom has the exact same issue. Bus prices have gone up. In a very real way, this is how the population is controlled. If you raise prices often enough and unexpectedly enough, you control for people who are even careful. On the other hand, there will always be those who are in excess. Too much alcohol, too much food, too much gambling, too much fighting, and so on. But there are always some who are careful. The inflation catches them. I want to make a note here and just say I will explain something here later, just showing that I didn't miss it. Now, it is funny in a way, since the people in this area learn from those in this area. They will watch, observe, and inherit the hopelessness of their parents, a self-creating, self-enforcing cycle of hopelessness. The movie confirms that movement between areas is almost impossible. In a way, this is smart, as it allows for easier control over the areas. This is a bit of a stretch though, but if you look later in the movie at the time zones, the averages go up. Higher prices, almost definitely, but higher incomes and higher times. So what happens when someone has more time than the economy allows? More likely than not, they end up broke, robbed, drunk, gambled away. The cycle of hopelessness is real. In the higher levels, this would not happen. Higher education, wiser spending, and probably an uplift in society. In this lowest level, however, the focus on the physiological needs and short-term upliftment are important. It overrides common sense. The Whale has a good scene regarding this. However, that doesn't make a good movie. Hence we find Will with grander dreams. The death of Olivia Wilde's character serves as additional motivation for Will. He already had the motivation to improve his life for him and his mother. He moves upwards, and we see another interesting and confusing aspect of society. You pay months to switch zones. I assume the writers didn't really understand the implications, and the average time zone board, I guess the timers have tracking tech in them, show that no one, besides the richest, can switch zones. Either way, it could have just as easily been a week, and upward mobility would have stopped. This excessive cost is to keep everyone in their zones, and reward outliers if they are lucky enough to survive the system. Originally, I'd hazard this would have been days and not months to switch zones. It even allows tourism, as opposed to impossible borders. Regardless, Will goes up, and we see life averages updating. The board in the Timekeepers organization has several issues in terms of the numbers shown. I like how the hotel costs months, and in a way, it does. To work months to enjoy is a nice nod at tourism. More than this, to be honest, isn't really needed. He gets money, gives it to the poor people, Robin Hood indeed. So what is the result? Collusion in setting prices means that prices are fluid and designed to be adjusted easily, in conjunction with, well, everything. The extra time will be taken out the system almost immediately and nothing will change. No chaos will save this. And Will has shown himself to be more prone to overdonating and dying sooner rather than later. Nothing will change. There will be excessive prices and this particular zone will be wiped out. The businesses have enough control at this point that they'll be able to take a 10% from each zone, choose some by lottery, decimate those that exist, and shift them to the working class. They could afford to wipe out an entire zone and just shift people down. The only exception would be the top level, where the truly elite stay. Ultimately, everything Will has done is irrelevant. Nothing changes. Now back to my note. I must admit, I was stumped on how this controls population. The bus scene is poorly done and does throw the whole system out of whack. There is a fix, but it is kind of convoluted. However, if you hire new employees on differing pay bands, if you are Gen Y, you earn X. If you are Gen Z, you earn X plus 10%, and so on. This way, the younger you are, the more likely you are to start with avo toast in your day, and when you hit 60, you have your cup of coffee, complain how things were better in your day, and no one really pays attention to you, old-timer. No one has time for 9gag anyway. This would also mean that factories employ by generation, and the stores near that factory would charge specific prices. The cheaper coffee shops at the new factories, even making logical sense under economics, would have the time to get there as a very real cost to purchase from them. The next area up has higher incomes, higher quality of life, and the same issue. Class mobility is frowned upon, and those who do move up won't learn to complain fast enough. They will think they just spent too fast. The others around them have the same cycle. Maybe a year or two longer life, as they have less children, and so on, and so on, and so on. Until the uber rich. I am sure they apply for licenses for children, and assassinations are common enough. I don't think we have to worry about overpopulation in the rich. Ultimately, Will has done nothing to change the system. The system will survive, and the shadow people who exist in the background still control everything. Thank you again for tuning in. I hope you stuck around to the end. Remember to like and subscribe. Also, next one up is probably going to be Ready Player One. I'm also starting work on a script for Cyberpunk 2077, and I am actually going to tackle the John Wick series, just because that really bugs me. Thanks very much, and of course I will look at the comments when I finally get them, not being bitter, just being honest, and I will take any suggestions seriously. Thank you very much, and until next time, cheers.